בקרוב תזרח השמש, נדע ימים יפים מאלה, הלב נלחם בדאגות. כולם יחזרו הביתה, נחכה להם למטה, הלוואי נדע בשורות טובות. כי עם הנצח לעולם לא מפחד, אפילו כשקשה לראות. כולם ביחד, אף אחד פה לא בודד, שישרפו המלחמות. עם ישראל חי, אם לא נשכח תמיד להיות מאוחדים. עם ישראל חי, בעליות בירידות, גם בשעות הכי קשות. הקדוש ברוך הוא שומר עלינו, אז מי יכול עלינו? כי אין לנו עוד מדינה. תעשה שלום בינינו, שמור על ילדינו, כי לא אבדה האמונה. עם ישראל, עם ישראל חי. עם ישראל חי. אור ארצי נחלתנו, לא תיפול כעת רוחנו, מסביב ברזל של חרבות. ויונה תפרוס כנפיים, התקווה בת שנות 2000, עוד נצא לשיר ברחובות. כי עם הנצח לעולם לא מפחד, אפילו כשקשה לראות. כולם ביחד, אף אחד פה לא בודד, שישרפו המלחמות. עם ישראל חי, אם לא נשכח תמיד להיות מאוחדים. עם ישראל חי, בעליות בירידות, גם בשעות הכי קשות. הקדוש ברוך הוא שומר עלינו, אז מי יכול עלינו? כי אין לנו עוד מדינה. תעשה שלום בינינו, שמור על ילדינו, כי לא אבדה האמונה. הקדוש ברוך הוא שומר עלינו, אז מי יכול עלינו? כי אין לנו עוד מדינה. תעשה שלום בינינו, שמור על ילדינו, כי לא אבדה האמונה. ישראל חי, כי עם ישראל חי.
Shalom, shalom, folks. Shabbat shalom, Shavua tov. May God bless you. God be with you. What's going on here? Can you hear me? I hope. Yes. Shabbat shalom, folks. Shavua tov. May God bless you and God be with you. It's fantastic, wonderful. See you guys again one more time in this week, because tomorrow is Labor Day week, and today it happened to me at least to get one more video that I can produce for you guys, so that I'm using all my time here to get these things out. So hopefully you had a wonderful weekend, and also you're expecting one more. I mean, here in Western world, September 1st, especially in the US, I don't know about any other countries, those who are celebrating September 1st. Exactamundo. Hold a second. I'll give you a call back, Lada, please. Hello. God. What's this going on here? Okay, let me call you back. All right, guys. So, I'm not sure. I'm sorry. Excuse me for that phone call. So, as I said, that it's in the Western world. We are celebrating September 1st as our Labor Day. But in some other countries, I think I heard that. Unknown caller. I can't believe this. All this time I was keeping quiet, right? Right now it's coming up. நான் திருப்பி கூப்பிட்டா உடனே நான் பிஸியாக இருக்கேங்க. நான் எவ்வளோ சொல்லிட்டேன் உங்களுக்கு நான். ஏன்னா நான் மெசேஜ் கொடுத்துருக்கேன், என்னை ரொம்ப டிஸ்டர்ப் பண்ணிருக்கேன் இப்போ. Sorry, guys, for that disturbance. Well, anyways, so as I said, that in some countries, I believe that they are doing it in. I believe that it is. What's that? Why is that? I'm not sure why both the things are going through. I'm not sure at all. Built-in microscope so on. Now it should be only the microscope. I believe on the. My goodness, I don't know. I have no clue. Nothing. Um. My God, I have no idea, guys. Hold a second. Sometimes, yeah, I got that right. But why it was on this? All right, I never been that before like this. It never came to me like that before. Okay, all right. I'm sorry for the interruption in the beginning. I think whenever I get this one down, something is always coming and distracting. Well, anyways, some other countries it is on month of May. Sometimes it's in other in our place it's on September 1st. So I'm having an holiday tomorrow, so I'm having some time. I thought that I can give you some information. Well, anyways, let's dive into the subject. Not to delay any further, um, the topic that we were talking all these days is about Jesus' genealogy. And also, yesterday we were talking about how the genealogy was spread in between Matthew and Luke and two different genealogies. And also, I gave a lot of questions. I asked you a lot of questions so that you can go and think yourself. I hope and you understand to what I'm talking right now and where I am coming from. Because these many questions, these many doubts, these many clarifications are needed when you study or when you read the Bible. If you do not get these clarifications, and it will not be a good idea to further study more. And I hope you got those questions. Probably you're working on those questions. Well, anyway, according to the genealogy, yesterday we saw that Jesus was given, virgin birth. I did ask one question that why we needed this Holy Spirit intervention with the Virgin Mary for this, virgin birth. Why should we needed that? Because if these two genealogies were true, if this Matthew genealogy and Luke's genealogy were true and it was authenticated, then why should we need the Holy Spirit, the birth of Holy Spirit? I have no idea. You should know that one. You have to ask these questions to yourself. Why would we need it? We don't need that one, right? But still then there was a birth story, a virgin birth story. That's what today we're going to see, virgin birth story of Jesus Christ, and also Virgin Mary's story, and also how those days and in those time period what happened for this story to be appear in the New Testament. There are about 27 books. Out of 27 books, only two books records this history, this story, this virgin birth story. Only two books records that one. No one else records that one, right? So when we talk about the Virgin Mary thing, usually immediately people would go to Catholics because that's where it started. Because Catholics still give the permission, the importance to the Mary, for the Virgin Mary, the Immaculate Conception, and also the perpetual, virginity and all those stuff, right? So what happened in Catholics, they call it as a Catholics Mariology. Mariology means people think that probably now we are already concluding this incident into kind of a divine situation by talking about Mariology. So Mariology in Catholics, that's what they call it, Mariology. It has four dogmas, four doctrines. What are the four doctrines that Catholics has with the Virgin Mary? Is number one is perpetual virginity, and number two, immaculate conception, and number three, theotokal. That means the mother of God, and the number four is assumption of bodily assumption bodily into heaven. So these are the four conception or four dogmas or four doctrines which was followed, in the Catholicism. All right, folks. So what that mean by Virgin of Annunciation? What does that mean? What it means. So we'll see out of the four gospels, Mark never talks about the birth of Jesus. He automatically it starts with the story of Jesus with a fully matured man. He never, probably, Mark was not interested, or those days it was not that much of importance given. Probably these stories are developed after Mark's situation, even though Paul was prior to him. In the Corinthians was written first book, but even then it was not mentioned that much depth in any books like the Gospel Matthew and Luke talks. So Mark never bothered about the Jesus birth, but at the same time he only started the Jesus life in the middle of his years. That means it's after matured a person. That's what Mark is. So it was only written in Luke and Matthew. So there was something that we need to see this in both of Matthew and Luke. What that is, we'll see some of the categories that how this story has been kind of knitted into, kind of a woven to. Number one is human female with a divine power. Bottom line is that Mary was a human, and then there's a divine power interruption, and then it came out. The outcome, is like Jesus. So it is recorded in both Matthew and Luke. Human female intervention between the divine power, and the outcome is Jesus. It is written in both the books. Virgin prior to conception. Also, the two books talks about that. None of the other books talks about that. Virgin before the conception. And number three, prophecy of the birth. Matthew talks about the prophecy of the birth because Matthew, it was the angel told Mary that she would be giving a boy. So and then the fourth one is asexual conception. This conception was immaculate. This conception never had any interaction with any human being at all. So there was an asexual conception which was discussed or told in Matthew and Luke, and pre-existing being. This is what interesting. See, yesterday also I asked a question: why Paul didn't write anything? Why Paul didn't go to Jesus' tomb or Jesus' birthplace? I was asking that yesterday, right? What Paul was talking, he was talking about the resurrection, the Holy Spirit, and the pre-existing condition was talked by Paul and also by John. So these two people are talking about the pre-existing condition. Before even Paul says that Jesus was there before even the earth was formed. And then perpetual virginity was talked in the later days. So, what are the precursors? So, if we knew all these things, if we knew all these things, these are the bottom line basics of the Jesus virgin birth, right? And about the Mary, these are the four dogmas or four doctrines. Basically, what is it? I mean, I already talked about about four doctrines. This is about the how this story was knitted with the virgin birth, human female with the divine intervention, and then prophecy of the birth was already told before that as asexual conception. There's no sexual conception, and then also pre-existing being as Jesus was there before the earth even was born. So, what are the precursors? There should be something in the Bible to talk about that. Was there any, or is there any precursors for this incident, for the virgin birth? You can tell there are a lot of examples for the miraculous births in the Old Testament. Even number one, Adam was a miraculous birth. He was made from the clay, from the dust. That's absolutely a miraculous birth. Eve was a miraculous birth because she was made from just a hip bone. Absolutely unbelievably. And also on those days, angels from the heavens were pregnating the human females on the earth. It happened on those days. So, look at this, the scenarios they're forming, the scenes they're bringing it up. Jesus was born to a Virgin Mary. It was a divine conception or immaculate conception. So, like they're seeing, is there any examples in the back in Old Testament? Yes, there are certain examples of miraculous births. They may not be exactly the same as Jesus' birth, but they were miraculous because of their unique instances happened there. What was the third one is pagan traditions also had the same thing. Not only the biblical tradition has this type of precursors, even the pagan traditions were having all these precursors in their stories, like human and man impregnated goddesses. It was already there in the pagan traditions. Humans were impregnating the goddesses. But we don't see that humans impregnating the goddesses in the biblical tradition. The biblical tradition is something different, right? From the heavenly people, the angels, having relation, or the what do you call the angels are pregnating the human beings, right? So Abraham and Sarah, that's again one more miraculous birth. At the age of 190s, it was highly impossible for Abraham and Sarah to get a baby, but there was a miracle happen and they got the baby. So that is another miraculous birth. You should not be, it doesn't need to be necessarily like Jesus, but there were some miraculous births in the Old Testament also. And also Luke and Zechariah and Elizabeth, Luke mentioned in his book that it was a miraculous birth happens there. So Greek gods and heroes, there are so many Greek gods and heroes were born in the same way. Yesterday also I talked about the same thing, because the Greek gods, Greek kings, or something like, they were considered as the deities in the Greek culture. Same thing here. What the belief system happens in Greek culture was, and is also, sometimes you can say that. So it was the conception between the higher level, like all the angels level, really, or conception. I mean, our interaction between human beings in the Greek culture. All of the kings had the same type of motherlyhood that they had. So in here we talk about Zoroaster, born of virgin, and later in the tradition. See, Zoroaster was born of virgin, and then Avatar. of Vishnu was a miraculous birth. We don't know how it is. And also Buddha was pre-Christian. I mean, also too, because these are the precursors. They were all a magical, births that they had at the time. Eastern gods, Ra, Artetis, Mithras, Greek heroes like Hephaestus, Asclepius, Dionysus, Romulus, Perseus, Hercules, Epiphos, Ion, and Amphion. And the historical heroes of the Greek were, Amento Teuclus, and then three, and then Piato, and then Alexander, Sino Africanus, and also the birth of Romulus. So these were the heroes and the gods for the Greco-Roman culture there. So birth of Romulus was how it happened. Mars, the Mars, that Mars had the connection with Rhea Silvia, the woman, the human being, and then the outcome was the King Romulus. That's one of the miraculous birth of King Romulus. This has been written, authenticated by the books in the Greek, but they believe in these stories. They believe in these stories. So the Greek culture, pagan culture, had the same thing, having a birth through the like the woman from the conception by the angels. So Mars and Rio Silvia were both got connected, and the outcome was who was that? Romulus. So divine power and human. That's the main thing. So it was told that Romulus was also pre-existed. So in also there are so many stories, circling around in Rome Kingdom and talking about Romulus. It's said that Romulus was also um, pre-existed, like Jesus Christ was pre-existing before birth. Romulus was also believed to be pre-existed. Perseus, God Zeus, and Danae, they both got connected, and the outcome was the Perseus. And also there was a prophecy told about him that he will be born like this, so and so. So Zeus, the other god, having connection with the Danae, and again the human versus the like the uh, um, celestial or heavenly acquaintances or heavenly connections will give the birth of humans, and that's what we are looking at. So, and also it is called as an asexual conception. It is not a sexual conception, it's an asexual conception. Hephaestus and Hera gave birth to Hephaestus. Sometime back we talked about the Hera, if you go and recollect it. So he gave birth. Again, there is an asexual conception and given birth. It's always completely towards asexual. The same way what they did, the same way they made the story for Jesus also, that it has to be coming the same way what it was told on the other stories. So that's how these stories influenced these stories of the Gentiles, got very much involved in, and then they had to prepare a story, they had to write a story like a Jesus Christ also, same like the other gods. So one of the things that we can easily understand, it doesn't mean that they had to do it, but it happened, so they did write about Jesus like this, right? So the other one we can say the Augustus. Augustus is born to Octavia Apollo and Ativa, and again they all had stories that all are conceived by angels or deities. So Augustus was also conceived by either deities or Augustus, right? Angels. So almost all the elements were present in the heliostats world, meaning the elements I was reading to you guys a little while ago about the where is that? Okay. Uh, Come on. So, number one, the element should be human female and the divine power. It happened in Jesus? Yes. Virgin prior to conception, was Mary conception was before prior to virgin prior to conception, was Mary virgin? Yes, she was. Number three, prophecy of the birth. Was any prophecy told about the birth of Jesus? Yes, Matthew himself tells in his book. Number one, an asexual conception. Was Jesus' birth was an asexual conception? Yes, Jesus' birth was an asexual conception. Pre-existing being. Was Jesus a pre-existing being? Yes, Paul and John writes about Jesus that he was pre-existing beyond, before the world even was born. And then popularity or perpetual virginity, which happened later days. So these many things were supposed to be in, and it was inside Jesus. Everything was there. So that's why Jesus was called, like one of these people. Right? All right, let's go and see. We have seen the miraculous birth and everything, and Romulus and everything, and Apollos and everything. Well, when we do these all informations have given, that does mean the is that means is that mean that the Greek Roman or the Greek culture or the Greek the kingdoms, well, they believe that these stories were borrowed from Greek. All these Jesus stories are borrowed from Greek. No, not necessarily it has to be, but certain things, yes, it could be possible. There is no way to say no to that one. So when we do that, the checks and balances with the whatever the things that what we studied right now, yes, there was miraculous births in paganism and also before Jesus. So there were miraculous births in every paganism and also in before Jesus. Before the Jesus birth. So obviously, Gospels are written on Greek, so there are possibilities to match those. Incarnation is needed in Christianity, but virgin is not needed. So to prove Jesus or to allow Jesus, it required only the incarnation is needed by Christianity, but virgin birth is not necessary at all. You don't have to. He could have born ordinarily to an ordinary parent, and he could have easily proved that he is from God. That would have easily done, which wasn't done on the day like that. So people always talk about Old Testament prophecy in Isaiah 7. Come on, that's people think, oh, that matches to equally. It talks about a baby shall born, and it shall be named by Emmanuel and everything. If you go and read the chapter from the beginning, you would understand what is the meaning of it. But that statement was not correct. That they have to take care of the whole. Even sometimes they do this one in the wedding time. How the bride and bridegroom should take care of the other people. To mention that they say this, the birth of Jesus Christ in 7th chapter of Isaiah, that exactly resembles Jesus. That's what it is. That the prophetical word. It's kind of a messianic prophecy. That's what they're mentioning Jesus. But in that place, it wasn't mentioned for Jesus Christ. It was mentioned for ordinary people, and like Isaiah's son, basically. So if you read the whole thing from the from the first verse to 12th and 13th, you would understand what exactly Isaiah was talking. But it has been wrongly interpreted. It has been wrongly, given to all the people, those who are watching and those who are hearing. And that's what it is I am trying to give you guys. This is the right way to read. This is the right way to look into. And again, virgin birth was necessary? Not at all. There is no meaning at all to have a virgin birth. I told you that was a story picked up from the pagan world, paganism, and then they attached to our system. So, folks, well, as you all heard this one, I've talked to you a lot today, and just go ahead and read one more time carefully and find out, if there is anything interesting. Definitely, please let me know. We can discuss later on. But as for today, I would like to close this session and be back next time as early as possible. Until then, Shabbat Shalom, Shavua Tov. May God bless you. God be with you. Take care, guys. Bye bye.
אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נעשה בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נשא בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נשא בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא הווה בתפארה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נשא בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נשא בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נשא בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא הווה בתפארה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה